Hey, welcome back to Dollar Reviews. It's been a while, maybe even too long. Once again, it's Brian Gillis. I'm here with my friend Steve.
Hello.
And today we saw Tomorrowland. So what'd you think?
Well, you know what? Before I get into this, let me just go down Brad Bird's filmography one by one.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a very solid body of work. Starting with The Iron Giant, which
Is
I don't know about you,
yeah.
but I grew up with that movie. I watched it quite a lot. No, but it's got quite a cult following, right?
Oh, definitely.
Like, yeah, even though it didn't do well.
Mhm.
Then moving on to The Incredibles, which I don't know about you, but I'd
Is
consider that one of the best superhero movies of all time.
definitely. And I
Yeah,
think it's one of the best Pixar movies.
oh yeah, definitely. And then Ratatouille, I haven't seen that since it came out, but
Oh yeah, that was him.
I do remember liking it, and it's pretty highly regarded.
I've only seen it twice. I think it's interesting, if not for the fact that it's about a rat in a kitchen, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
And
and
all
all right, and then what? Ghost Protocol.
yeah, I think that was his first jump to live action.
Yeah, and that was a really fun movie. Not the best. I guess as far as storytelling, it's just a simple, fun action
Well,
movie.
yeah, it's Tom Cruise hanging
Yeah.
off the side of a building. That's the whole movie.
Anyway, the funny thing is, I think if you look at Rotten Tomatoes,
Hmm.
all four of those movies, you'll see that they have a 90% or above, or something like
Which
that.
makes
They're
sense.
all pretty well regarded. So
Hmm.
very good body of work, right?
And then there's this.
Yeah, you see where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, I mean, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I'm sure you might have glimpsed at reviews beforehand, like I did, and I just knew that there was something off. I didn't read anything, but just scrolling Twitter, just in those blurbs, those quick little things, and I'm like, uh-oh.
I think we can both agree it doesn't really live up to any of those titles at all, right?
Not even close. Which is real sad, considering the potential it had, especially with the first glimpse and that first initial teaser and even the Super Bowl spot.
Nah, so you weren't that big on it?
I I mean, what I think is really weird is, well, no one on the internet's going to hear our first review for Mad Max, but I was just gushing about how it has this agenda, that, about environmentalism and saving the environment, but it's so subtle. It doesn't throw it in your face. It's just like, look at this world, something obviously happened, whereas this is the exact opposite. From beginning to end, it's about save the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's right from the very first moments of the movie, you know right away whether or not you're gonna enjoy it.
Hmm.
If you're a cynic, then this movie's just gonna annoy the shit out of you.
Especially because George Clooney isn't really that guy usually, and he doesn't really
No,
do
I
that
mean,
well
well, I
here.
don't, I don't think George Clooney's the issue. You start with it's really weird the framing
Breaking the
story.
fourth
Yeah,
wall,
you
which is
have George Clooney. He starts talking about how the world's gone to shit. There's destruction, and
hmm which isn't Disney-esque, which is
no,
really
not at all,
weird.
which is interesting. Then you have Britt Robinson coming in and just going, oh, stop, don't talk about this stuff. Talk about the
Let's
good
do
stuff,
mine.
the happy
Yeah, let me
stuff.
do it.
Yeah, my story's better because I'm an optimist.
Cause I'm a Disney princess.
The movie it's incredibly naive, it's incredibly optimistic, but I kind of have to give it credit that it's at least consistent. It's unabashedly optimistic and it wears it on its sleeve the whole
Hmm.
way through.
Yeah, for better
Yeah,
for worse.
yeah, and
Yeah, at
also
least the tone isn't fucked up.
so right when I was watching it, I kind of felt like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I'm probably gonna hate this, right?
Hmm.
But I think a key thing that you have to remember is that this is a kids movie.
And not just that, but it's an adaptation of a theme park attraction. Well, not even just an attraction, but a whole world in a theme park.
And I haven't been to Disneyland in a long time, so I guess the ties are very, very loose.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I haven't been in a while either, but I think it's just the name recognition.
But anyway, so I think that this is, it's clearly a kids movie, right?
Yeah.
Not exactly the piece of masterful storytelling from other stuff that we've gotten from Brad Bird. It really, to me, it reminded me of some of the cheesier old school Disney movies I grew up with. So some like Flight of the Navigator. Did you see that?
Haven't seen that, but I did notice something during the film. You might have too. I don't want to get too far into it, but there's a reference to the black hole. Pretty up there too. Like there's a poster in the best scene in the movie. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in that scene. Well, I say we just jump into that scene, the blast from the past store
The really weird cameo from
from
yeah,
Keenan.
what's his name?
Peel?
Michael.
He's Peel,
No, I think he's Key.
the Obama translator.
Yeah.
I thought that there's a lot of stuff going on in the movie. It has some real weird tone. It's, like as you said, it's cynical but also optimistic, and it's trying to do this balance. But then you have this part that just doesn't fit with the rest of the film, and I thought it was perfect. I thought that was the perfect scene.
You didn't think it fit within the movie at all?
It definitely didn't fit. Not really.
How?
Just the tone of it. Like, okay, it's the introduction to the bad guys. You have this very self-referential store where there's Star Wars memorabilia, there's Incredibles action figures, there's Iron Giant posters. Like I said earlier, there's the Black Hole, there's Lost in Space, there's just Star Trek, lots of stuff that people from this film, Damon Lindelof, Brad Bird, God knows who else, worked on. You got Han Solo and Carbonite used as not just decoration, but like a weapon. Like,
that felt like a really strange reference to me.
Right? Like, it's all over the place, but I loved it. I think that's gonna be the scene that's gonna be on YouTube that people are gonna watch, or like that's the geekiest part of the film that people are gonna say, oh, you got to see it for this.
Well, I think if you're looking for the references, yeah, but that's not really the scene that impressed me.
Oh yeah, it didn't impress me. I enjoyed it the most.
As far as action scenes, the one that I would probably remember the best is the siege on the house, but
well, yeah, even though that was ruined in the trailer.
Was it?
Yeah, the first theatrical trailer, like the real thing, they showed the first half of that whole sequence. It was horrible. But yeah, you like the house siege? I thought that was pretty good too.
No, I did. I thought it was, it was very creative.
Especially the way that they used the environment to such a good effect. Like all these cool-looking doodads and doohickeys. Speaking of sequences, maybe it was just me, but when what was her name? Casey? Yeah, Casey. When she gets the invitation, when she touches the pin for the first real time, when she's really there for the like, extended duration, was her entire trip in Tomorrowland a one-shot? Because it seemed like it.
Yeah. Wait, are you talking about the take where she's walking through the city itself?
Yeah, when she's actually there, like her actual introduction, when she's hooked. It was because like there's the reference when the pin and it's counting down. Like there's those inserts when she's looking at the time, but other than that, like it seemed like it was one take.
It certainly felt like one.
Mm-hmm. It was very impressive. I think in IMAX that would have looked great because I think there was like 20% more of the frame in IMAX.
That is another thing, though. To this movie's credit, I do think that it really there is a lot of visual awe throughout.
Oh, definitely, especially anything involved with the pin in the first half of the story.
I was really surprised that this wasn't released in 3D, especially for some of the flying scenes. There's a lot of moments where I do think visually I just thought were beautiful to look at.
Oh yeah, anything in Tomorrowland.
Yeah, so I'm really surprised that just of all the movies to not release in 3D or to convert, this is one of the ones that didn't make the cut.
Pretty sure Brad Bird had something to do with that. He probably was really against the idea.
Well, he's got enough clout, but I'm surprised too, just that he would say no to that because there's a lot of just perfect moments, especially I forget what the name of the machine that they go into to look at the past and the future. Even in 2D, there's just a really great sense of depth and scale, just in those shots that I thought would have worked perfect
the
in 3D.
The portal or the bridge, whatever they wanted to call it.
Yeah,
they could have done something similar. I don't know if you saw Tron Legacy in 3D.
I did.
You did. So you know how they did the Wizard of Oz thing where it started off in 2D and then once they went to the computer, it was in three-dimensional.
Yeah.
They could have done something similar to that. Like anytime you're in Tomorrowland, it was in 3D, and I think it would have worked really well.
Well, that probably would have been distracting, just because you got to keep those glasses on. Yeah, and no one wants to take those glasses on and off.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, maybe in the future, right, when you can watch 3D without any glasses.
So my friend noted this more than I did. The George Clooney love story. It's kind of weird. Especially in the PG movie.
That's one thing I think definitely did not work. I find the idea very interesting.
Oh, definitely. It plays with Isaac Asimov's ideas of robots and whatnot.
No, I mean, especially when you see him as a kid, I do think that, that definitely works and you feel for the kid. But The emotional payoff to that story, I didn't feel a thing.
Especially when this is, multi-voted sexiest man of the year and whatnot, and Batman.
Well, it's just kind of creepy seeing
It's
what is he
creepy.
like? He's like a 50-year-old man
A little bit
talking to a
older than that, yeah. Because, I mean, think about it. It was 1964, and he was in Tomorrowland. He was like 12, so he was born in like 1950, so he's 60.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy,
Robot or
especially.
no, it's kind of creepy.
I mean, this is a minor spoiler, but you got, these ray guns destroying, well, like obliterating people all over the place. And sure, there's no blood, so it's not, you could say it's not really violence. But, so that's allowed, but a kiss isn't.
Well, it's a good thing that we didn't see a kiss between an
Oh,
old man and
definitely.
yeah.
But it could have worked as kids. Like, it could have worked when they're doing why he became a cynic or whatever. But it was so off.
Though that is one thing I do want to say. Like, I do feel like this is a kids movie. I
Yeah.
can enjoy it on that level, but as far as the robots, like I just kept
Or
watching and thinking
advanced
like,
automatrons.
yeah, I mean, I found it funny just how they were always like, they were smiling,
Yeah.
they were permanently happy.
Like a Cheshire cat grin, especially whatever the main baddie was.
Yeah.
Like his smile was scary. Like, oh
No, but
wow.
like throughout, what I was just watching it throughout, and I'm just kind of like, I was just kind of surprised seeing it. I just kind of went like, did they just fucking kill a guy?
All over the place.
Like, yeah, just like that, and it happened so
Humans,
many
robots,
times.
it didn't all over the place.
Yeah,
But
it's
there's
like,
no blood.
it's like,
I
mean,
think
they're
the body
more
count in
ruthless
this,
than Ultron, man.
yeah, the body count in this was probably higher than Avengers. I would actually say it is higher, and it might be almost as high as
No,
Mad Max.
no, is it really that high? It was probably only like less
I think
than
it was in
five
20.
people, right? Really?
No, I think it was around 20 in this film.
There was only like 5 that I really noticed.
It was a good amount. Maybe it was closer to like 15, but it was enough to the point where,
Well, it's
at
not
least
just
for
how
me, I was
many,
like,
it wasn't really
it
a
was how
matter
it was
of,
done.
yeah, it just kind of happens out of
Dismemberments
nowhere.
and
You have
God knows
this
what else.
you just have this kind of fun tone throughout the movie, like, oh, this is supposed to
Hmm.
be a fun action sequence, and
Someone's
someone
hand just got cut off.
it's not someone drops dead, it's someone just disintegrates just
Yeah.
like that. Like, wow, that's really creepy.
And no one
For
stops and
kids.
goes, "Oh wow, that just happened." It's just continue the story. Keep going, Brad Bird. No one dies in Mission Possible, but this is a whole other thing. There's not much going on in the movie. There's no character development really. It's supposed to be realistic about the world going to shit, and it kind of does the Interstellar thing in just a bad way. But then you have this weird thing where you got this main girl in a Disney movie with no love interests at all. She has no friends, and yet she's supposed to be the hope for the future.
Yeah, I don't see why that works. I guess the point is just, because she's so, happy-go-lucky and optimistic, and there's not that many people around in the
Or
world.
whatever.
And, we do admittedly live.
And a juvenile
Yeah.
delinquent.
You know what? That's funny is I thought that based on the trailer that she would be a lot more hard-edged, just based on that teaser
Mhm.
alone, because you see her getting out of making bail.
Yeah.
So I just started nodding my head right away when you see you see her and you hear her first line, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm an optimist." I just wanted to fucking
It
shoot
was
myself.
the George Clooney stuff when he was with her. I thought there was some fun banter going on. Like their interactions were kind of like really good, but they took too long to get both of them on screen, and the way they did it just didn't work. The characters weren't really developed that much, or if they were, it didn't really mean anything. Just George Clooney's character as a kid, what was that, like 25 minutes of screen time or so?
That was like the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and then it jumps back and forth a little bit. It was there. It helped establish this world to a point, but I didn't care.
I think, for me, it does feel a little sloppy, and I guess that they just kind of
Mhm.
make that excuse because there's the framing story that sets that up, and then she buds in and
Yeah.
starts telling her story.
Which doesn't work well.
No, but I definitely don't think there was a pacing issue for me.
Once it got going, I agree with you. Like it had a good ride to it, but it had to get there.
There was this I was always interested in, it the mystery of what was happening and what was up with that pin and
Mm-hmm.
why she was being brought into that world. And that really is you're seeing the story from her point of view because she is the chosen one and blah 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 blah
Mm-hmm.
blah and all that crap. Um, but I do just based on kids movie logic, which that is, I just at a certain point I had to accept that and lower my expectations to that level, and that's the only way I was able to enjoy it. It worked fine enough for me.
Yeah, it was a good ride. I mean, admittedly, I didn't pay anything to watch it, and sort of you didn't either. Um, but yeah, if I took my nephew to see this, I don't have a nephew, but if in this example, if I did, I'm sure he would have liked it, and I would have liked to have taken him to see it. It's not Star Wars, it's not the Avengers, but it is Disney at least trying to do their own thing, even if it is resting on the laurels of one of their many theme park attractions.
You know,
Speaking of
um,
which, continue.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, they have a tendency to make their park attractions into adaptations. You got the Parts of the Caribbean films. They're almost on the fifth now. The horrible Haunted Mansion,
I never
which is
saw it.
getting oh good don't which is getting a reboot supposedly. Guillermo del Toro. How many things does he have on his agenda that he's actually gonna do?
Well, he keeps
Um,
himself busy.
um, so yeah, you got this, and then who? I don't know. I don't see this doing that well in theaters, and maybe that would affect where Jon Favreau is going with the Magic Kingdom, if that's even still a thing. Because if it's anything like this, I kind of don't want to see it happen now.
Well, this kind of reminds me of John Carter in several ways.
Yeah, I like John
I
Carter.
no, I
Just
like
to
it a
throw
lot
that out
too.
there.
Yeah, no, I love that
I don't
movie.
know why it bombed. Oh, well, I do know. It's
I do.
because
Well, was
we
the
already have
marketing really that
Superman.
great?
I think Disney, yeah, it was just the marketing. They marketed it completely wrong.
Well, not only that,
But
but I do think it's a story that just kind of demands a lot out of a modern
mhm.
audience.
At least Disney took a risk, like with this film. It's good to see them going beyond just their princess movie adaptations and trying these action adventures.
Part of me does wonder though if we are seeing Brad Bird's cut of this movie because I think it's well
I
known for
think so
John
too.
Carter that that Disney was the one that had final cut and it wasn't really Understand that got his final say in there. And
I mean,
it
it's
was well known as a troubled production and they just kind of
yeah, definitely.
yeah. I don't know the details. I'm not going to pretend I know, but
I was
there is that sense of
uh
something's being rushed in the story and with the way that the framing story works here, I kind of wonder because it just feels weird.
hmm. It ties itself together pretty well at the end,
Yeah, but the ending is
but
so goddamn cheesy.
well, yeah, it's a Disney movie. I
With
mean,
but yeah, we're not going to spoil. Yeah,
yeah, but it's kind of necessary. Um, so I don't know. I thought something that they did well. I don't know how well. I know you haven't been to Disneyland a while, but I don't know how well versed you are in their history. But they used to have a jetpack rider in the park in Tomorrowland, and so I thought it was kind of cool. Like they threw that into the film. Also had like a little bit of a Rocketeer vibe going on.
let me ask you this. So the original title for this or the working title was 1952, right?
hmm
Yeah. Did you catch any significance to that year at all within the movie?
No, I think that could have just been a working title. Brad Bird tweeted something a couple of weeks ago, where he like posted his scribble of the Tomorrowland logo and then what the finalized version of the film is, and he was like 3 years later. So I highly doubt that that was the actual title. It was probably just working to cover the tracks. But you kind of touched on something, especially mentioning Stanton, who's also someone who did Pixar first and moved over to live action. John Carter didn't work. It doesn't seem like this is going to work. Do you think they're going to try again? You think they're going to let someone try to do the real people thing?
Well, I'm not sure. What's funny is that just bringing up that comparison to Andrew Stanton and Brad Bird, you know what
hmm
both their films are right after their live action efforts, right?
Let me think.
They're both going back to doing sequels of their biggest successes at Pixar.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Incredibles 2 is coming out and
Yeah,
Finding
which I
Dory.
mean, it seems I don't know. I guess for Andrew Stanton, it seems like he kind of had to go back to the well just because John Carter bombed really bad.
Yeah, and you can't. go in the House of Mouse's hellhole. Like you can't be in mouse jail, mouse trap. There you go.
And I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of Finding Dory. I'm not excited about it. I hope that they get a good story out of that. But Incredibles 2, I can at least believe that since they announced that a while ago, I've got more faith in that. You know what? I do have a note here that I found.
Hmm.
As far as just this idea of the world ending,
Yeah.
which
Which is pretty dark for a Disney movie.
yeah, it's really dark for a Disney movie, and I do think that's really what brings me around to actually liking the film. Is for me personally, I'm just kind of fascinated by this idea of just humanity being so self-destructive, like
Yeah.
and since we're in such a cynical world, like
It did.
you see
Yeah.
that stuff happening today. Like I can go on Facebook right now and I'll see someone just putting their opinion out on something, some
California drought
yeah, just
or
something
whatever.
common social issues that we have or some natural disaster that happened recently. But
Mhm.
that's the thing. Everyone's just going to write their opinion on it. They're not
Not
really
try
going
to
to,
fix it.
yeah, they're not going to try to do anything. And I do think, as ham-fisted as that point was, it
Big
was
time.
something that stuck out with me, especially when you have that montage of her just sitting throughout school lectures
Hmm.
and she asks the
It
question of,
rang
okay,
true.
well, yeah, what are we doing to do about
It
it?
definitely rang true. It's just the way that Mad Max did a very similar thing without literally fisting it down your throat. Like I think that's what I appreciated about. I mean, obviously the message isn't the same. You have other things going on. As it's a hard R action film. Um,
But it's also more, its messages are communicated more visually and through character
yeah.
actions rather than dialogue.
Well, this isn't even dialogue. This is like literally talking to the camera and more just talking to yourself. Really, it's
Yeah, it doesn't really hide it, but it's for
watch.
kids.
Uh, but I mean, even from the beginning, I had higher hopes for what this was, especially with their Tomorrowland tint on the Disney opening. I thought the
Just the
castle
custom
look was
logo.
really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
looked
was
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Every time they do that more and more now, I usually like them. The child actors in this film were pretty good, besides Casey's Mexican younger brother, which didn't really make sense. Like her mom was in the film for some reason. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that didn't make
Well,
sense,
I
but
did kind of appreciate that. I'm assuming that the backstory with the mother was something like, okay, there's a dead mother or something,
yeah.
or maybe it was a divorce. But it really didn't seem that important for them to bring it up.
It definitely wasn't important, but it could have helped with the character development, especially since there's very little outside of George Clooney.
I don't. It really is a crazy, naive movie. The more I think about it, because the final message is, oh, just hope for all this stuff, and everything will be better.
I mean, you have that little cameo of what you call it. It's a Small World,
Yeah,
which is definitely right on the nose. Like a Disney movie about a theme park world that within itself references a theme park attraction while referencing the properties that they now own
mm-hmm.
while referencing itself. Like there's a lot of stuff going on that doesn't really work, but
No.
still pretty
I
enjoyable.
do think at the end of the day, like it doesn't feel like it comes together completely well, but
Hmm.
I admire the ambition behind it, and I can always just kind of enjoy it simply just as a kids film. On that level, it is enjoyable if you just don't demand too much out of it, and for the stuff that you do get, because there is,
There's
I
some
do,
great looking stuff.
yeah, there's a lot of great visuals in there, and I do think there are quite a few points that are worth thinking about.
I I agree with what you said, except like I think that this could have worked a lot better. Maybe if it was an hour and 45 minutes, or even better yet, if it was like a mini series. As they have this great world, not the real one, but this Tomorrowland. They have this great world that is rarely even touched upon, even though it's titled this, and that's all you really want to see. It's not about how you get there, it's about being there, which is also, once again, referenced in the film. Especially, it's like Casey's one drive in her life, it seems like.
Just to get to Tomorrowland.
Yeah, it's like, just take me there. I would recommend this when it comes to stars.
You wouldn't buy it for
I
$1?
would definitely not buy this for $1.
I think it's worth $1. At the very least, at Redbox.
Yeah, maybe Redbox. But like I said, I would wait for cable.
Yeah, but no, I do think it's a fun movie with there's a lot of fun creative stuff in there, and if you do enjoy seeing stuff that's a little bit different and not all the franchise stuff that we get during the summer especially, then yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely worth taking a look at.
Yeah, it's in title alone, it is an adaptation, but it really stands on its own 2 feet, and it does a good job of creating not only a world, um, but somewhat compelling characters in a story that really resonates with society. Next week we have the disaster movie to end them all, supposedly, especially since we actually have earthquakes happening. There hasn't been a good one in a long time.
Hopefully that'll be fun.
Hope you've enjoyed listening. We've had fun talking. Catch you next time.